Alright, it's time to cast some more dice. Last time went pretty good, so hopefully this time goes just as well, if not even better. When casting with epoxy resin, make sure to use the proper safety equipment, such as nitrile safety gloves, and a mask rated for fumes, an M7502 mask rated for fumes. For this pour we will be using alcohol ink, so let's pick out a nice lime green. There it is. Hopefully this looks good. Now that we have the color picked out, it's time to mix the resin. So we're going to be first checking and making sure which side is the thick side and which side is the thin side, as it's easier to pour the thin liquid than it is the thick. And since we know that the A side is the thicker, with this type of resin, we'll be having the A side as the base and the B side as the mixture. So here you can see I've marked off 50 milliliters. So let's open up our lid. And right here you can see that the hardener actually formed like its own sort of glue, holding my makeshift lid to the bottle. Alright, so let's fill. Let's begin mixing. Or not mixing, let's pour. Pour it up to the line that I can see. Now that I've turned the silicone container around. Okay, that's the B side poured. Alright, time to wipe off the B side. But instead of just wiping it off, I'm going to spread it around the top so it can act as a glue to hold down the glove again. Just like last time, I'm going to stretch the glove around the opening of the B side. Except this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. Once it's nice and on there, I'm going to squeeze the B side in order to get some air out, and the top will form a vacuum, sealing it in and making it far more airtight than last time. Alright, it's time to mix. Or time to pour the A side, I mean. The exact same as the B side, we're just going to fill it up to 50 milliliters. Almost knocked over the B side, but I didn't, so that's good. Make sure your lids are very tight, and it's time to pour. Or time to mix, I mean. I'm going to be pouring the B side into the A side since it's thinner, and it'll be far easier to mix. Using the stirring stick, I'm going to finish getting all the resin off the sides of the little container. When mixing, you'll want to do so slowly, always watching it to make sure it's fully. The mixture will go cloudy and then back to being clear. Once it's clear again, that's how you'll know it's ready. And once it's ready, you can add in the coloring and pour it into your molds. Let's add the coloring agent to the resin. We'll be using alcohol ink for this, so let's cut it open and pour a few drops on the table first. because my table always gets first dibs for the color. In total, I'm going to add in 5 drops into the resin, so hopefully that'll color it a nice lime green. Now that it's all mixed together, it's time to pour it. When pouring into a mold, it's best to do so from a high elevation, as to avoid as many air bubbles passing through the resin as possible. So I'm just going to slowly fill up each individual cavity with the lime green resin. Right here, a bit of resin from a previous pour falls into that dice mold. So I'm gonna have to try and fish that out before we continue. To fish it out, I'm gonna try to use scissors, but in doing so I just end up pushing it in deeper. So I figure I'll just call it an inclusion, and now there's a bit of pink in that one dice. I still have a lot of resin, so I'm going to pour it into this little dish mold I have. Hopefully a nice little lime green dish. Should look pretty cool. I'll have some resin left over to pour on the lid for the dice mold. I use isopropyl instead of a heat source because it sticks around on the resin and will continue to pop bubbles long after it's sprayed. Now we're going to pour some resin on top of the lid mold, or the lid mold, on the cap of the dice mold. I want to try something new with this, so I'm going to use a pipette to try and remove bubbles that I can see that are in the middle and the bottom of the dice. And it actually worked. It worked quite nicely. I still have a bit more resin, so I'll add in some glitter, and we're just going to fill up these other molds I had laying around. Hopefully they turn out to be some cool little resin sticks. Okay, I've let it all sit for about 20 minutes. Hopefully that has allowed all the bubbles to rise to the surface. So now we're gonna, after spraying it with a bit of isopropyl, which I did off camera, we're gonna line up the keys for the cap and slide it on, making sure that the keys are pushed into their holes slightly, and we'll come check it tomorrow. Hopefully it looks good. So it broke. The lid, it broke. I'm still gonna keep doing this for the lid. It just sucks that it broke. Let's have a look from the top to see how bad it is, and some bubbles forming. Hopefully it'll be fine. I'm still gonna use it. Don't want to waste resin. 24 hours later, let's check out what I poured. So far everything looks good, except those two little those two little things I poured last time. As you can see, they are full of bubbles, which does suck, but I poured them in a hurry and they were just some one-off things. No, it's not that bad. The other one, at least. It could have been worse. Now let's try to get it out of the mold. If I can get a grip, that is. Come on. Why is this so hard? You know what? Screw it. Let's check the other one instead. Hopefully it will come out of its mold much easier, or at all even. And yeah, it's actually coming out this time. A little bit of bubbles throughout, but you know, not that bad. Now let's check out the dish. Dish is also fairly hard to get because the silicone itself is forming a suction in the middle of the bowl, as you can see. In all, it's pretty good. No bubbles, which is really nice. I wish it was a bit more tinted. Next time though. Now for the main dish. Let's see how they went in comparison to the last time. Okay, here we go. Time to open up the mold. Let's just find a spot where I can grab without pulling up the flashing. Alright, got some. Alright, ready? Here comes the reveal. Oh. Very little bubble. Oh. A couple of voids on the D20, but everything else is looking really clean. How did I even... You can see the little inclusion there. Alright, let's pop these out, and lots of flashing is coming off. So I'm gonna have to clean that up. Pretty easy with some scissors. Or you can just rip it if it's fresh. So far they're looking really nice. Very little bubbles. But looks like you can count the amount of bubbles in each dice. They turned out incredible. Oh, let's take care of the flashing. As you can see, you can just rip it. And in this one, I'm going to actually use the scissors and show. So we're just going to line up the edge and cut along it. Cut, getting as close to the edge as possible. I just love how well they turned out. Except for this one. As you can see the voids and the bubbles in the D20. It's a real shame. It's always a D20. And here you can see on the past ones, once again that one face is where all the bubbles and voids concentrate. This one wasn't that bad for voids, but it was bad for bubbles. The pink one was in the middle for both, whereas this one's good for bubbles, but very bad for voids. Oh well, it's time to ink. So to ink it, we're going to be doing in black this time, except for the highest number, which we're going to be doing in gold. So to ink, all I'm going to do is just cover the face of the dice with as much ink as possible. And once it's fully covered, I'm just going to wipe away the excess. What that'll do is the paint will fill in the void, and the number will be nice and colored. This gold paint does dry a bit easy and very quickly, so you will have to use some rubbing alcohol later on to clean it up, if you want. So let's time lapse it and finish filling in all the other highest numbers. For the rest of the numbers, we are going to be doing a black ink. So to make this black ink, I'm going to squirt some black acrylic paint into my tray over here, and then I'm going to mix in a little bit of water. But I mix a little bit too much in. But that's fine, it'll still work. So like the gold, we're just going to dab it into the crevices and then wipe it away. We're going to do this for every number with every dice now. In another time lapse, so enjoy. Okay, I should be finished making a mess around here. So let's wrap it up. So far, I like them. There's a couple bubbles and a few voids that got filled in with paint, but other than that, these are by far my cleanest. Well, the next ones are going to be even better, hopefully. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.